What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about relationship issues, and it's like more of a Q&A, because I get emails sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people want to know my advice on relationships, which is interesting to me because, I mean, who am I to be giving advice on relationships? I mean, I have a good relationship now, but I've failed, obviously, at every other relationship that I've been in, so let me just start off by saying that, relationships are a two-way street, and you have to give just as much as you want to get. I mean, that's just the way it is. And if for some reason that balance shifts one way or the other, issues are going to happen. All right, so the best thing, in my opinion, to do, relationship-wise, is to try to keep as much as you can an open line of communication so that you constantly know what's going on. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to think. You don't have to try to decide whether or not there's an underlying meaning of something if, your girlfriend or boyfriend says this or that or whatever. Open line of communication. Probably that and trust are the two things that are the most important in a relationship, period, that I've found out through the years of my 38 years on this rock that we call Earth. So the email was, he said he loves the videos, just wondering if I could make a video about, and see what my response would be about his split with his girlfriend. He said he feels terrible because she's a great girl, but she's too needy, always wanting to see him, never giving him any time that he needs, like I guess on his own, like just doesn't give him his alone time or guy time or whatever. Insecure about who he was talking to. He says that he's a very loyal person and he couldn't get that through to her. He always felt that he was always picking up with her problems. She seemed to always be down and upset, and she had no motivation to do anything except just go see him and hang out with him. He said he's generally a positive person, and she was always negative. So he cut off all contact with her. He broke up with her, cut off all contact with her, but he feels guilty towards ending it and wanted to know my thoughts. Now, based on my experience, and I don't know, it doesn't say how old you guys are, so I don't know if you guys are like teenagers or if you're like 20s or whatever, but she sounds very immature. Okay, like I remember being like 14 or 15 years old, and all you wanted to do was hang out with your girlfriend, like every second that you could. Like, you didn't want to do anything else, and when she wasn't around, then you'd hang out with your buddies, but everything like revolved around that kind of young puppy love type deal that like you worshipped the other person essentially. Like, well, usually in the relationship, one was like that, and the other one was kind of not like that. That's usually what led to breakups. But that's what it sounds like. She's young. If she's not young, insecure, yes. Okay, now, here's part of the thing. You're saying it seems she's insecure, it seems this, seems like that. Why don't you know these answers if you were dating her? That's what you need to start keeping that open line of communication. Why? Why do you need to see me all the time? What's wrong? What do you think is going to happen if I'm not here? Why don't you have any, any things you do on your own? What's the deal? Like, you start digging, and maybe at first she won't let you in, but then if you're really into this girl, she's not doing this for no reason. She's not doing this to be a bitch, okay? She's doing this because something happened to her, or she's been taught something a certain way, maybe the way her parents are. They spend every second together, and every time, whenever they're not spending time together, it's abnormal. She's getting this idea somewhere that the relationship is supposed to be like this. So that's what she's trying to replicate and trying to do. Now, as far as you said, she's positive. I mean, you're positive and she's negative. Why is she negative? Okay, is she a negative person in general all the way around life? Okay, fine. Or is she negative certain times around you because she doesn't feel that same vibe back that she's giving you? I love you, love you, love you. And you're like, yeah, okay, love you. You say it once or every 7 times. Now you're getting a weird vibe. She seems negative. What's the situation? There's a lot more going on than just she's negative, I'm positive. She likes me a lot. I don't like her that much. Like, there's so much other stuff going on. I mean, the fact that you were dating her obviously means you like her, but, how much do you like her? So, and are you willing to dig deeper into this? Like I said, I don't know how old you guys are, how long you've been together and stuff, but if you really are in love with someone, it's my experience that as long as it's not an abusive relationship, mentally or physically, and you really love them, you try every option until you've run out of options. You say, nothing will work, and we're just done. Okay? Because there's a lot of work that goes into a long-term relationship over the years, and it's not all like the honeymoon phase all the time. So you need to figure out how to kind of work through your differences and communicate, period. So if you're not doing those things, well, how much do you really like her? The fact that you decide to cut it off, just means right there that you're probably not as into her that she's into you, okay? For whatever reason, whether it's, the spark that you guys have is gone, whether, you know, she just turned out not to be who you thought she was, or you feel like she brings out more negative in you, or she actually drags you down, or, you know, drains you. I mean, you know, whatever the case may be, you decided to cut it off. And cutting off all contact, I'll tell you, I'm friends with many of my exes, and, you know, I'm proud to say that most of them that I'm friends with, I'm pretty cordial with all of them except a couple. And I'm glad that I'm friends with most of them because they're good people. They really are. They just weren't for me, and I wasn't for them. But it doesn't mean they weren't good people. It doesn't mean that I didn't learn things either. After every relationship ended, I would kind of take stock in my own way and kind of figure out what did work, what didn't work, why it didn't work, try to figure out things on my own. And, you know, some of them I still talk to, some of them I didn't talk to at the time, so I couldn't really ask them, you know, what was the issue. But some of them years later, you know, we became more friendly and stuff. Facebook is actually an interesting thing for that, and could find out why it didn't work, what she was thinking, because I didn't know how to communicate back then. You know, when you're younger, you don't really have as good a communication skills as you do when you're older. But my last relationship prior to Kari was it was kind of a rough one, and at the end, she decided to cut off all contact with me, and I mean block all my calls, block my emails, everything, just gone, done. Like she didn't even exist. And at first, I was really offended. I was like, you know what? We've been together for like 4 years, and we essentially were like best friends. And we had spoken about this. I mean, the breakup was, you know, it wasn't awful. We were still talking after we had broken up. And then she cut off all contact, and I didn't understand. I was like, you know what, it just pissed me off. I was like, well, fuck you. You know, you want to just drop me after 4 years of dating and being best friends? Well, then you're not worth it to begin with. And someone explained to me, they said, you know what, in order for her to move on, there can't be any contact, because there's still feelings there. Just because you guys can't be together as a couple doesn't mean that there's no feelings there and she doesn't love you. Which means that you're not right for each other. And that sucks. And every time you guys talk or see each other or whatever, it's a reminder that she still loves you. So if she can cut you off and make you go away, at least for a period of time, those feelings will go away and subside, and, you know, things will be better. Maybe you guys will wind up being friends, you know, 5 or 6 years from now. Well, it's like 5 years later, but we're still not friends and haven't spoken, have any contact at all. But I got it. I understood it. As I was going through it, not having contact with her made it so that I could move on too. It was actually a smart move on her part so that, you know, both of us could move on and not waste any more time, you know, just worrying about what didn't go wrong or what didn't go right or what went wrong, or, you know, we didn't really have to just drudge on the past and just let it just drag us down. We could stop, move on, try to go in a different way, a different direction, and move on. And, you know, it seems like that's what you did. You cut off contact, and that's probably, if she's that clingy and she's that, you know, stuck on you and you don't want that, then that's probably the best route to go. But it's going to hurt. Not going to lie. It's going to sting her a major amount. And it'll probably hurt you less, you know, or maybe it's hurting you the same amount, but you just have to do it. But bottom line is, you have to look out for you. You have to protect yourself. Nobody else is going to do it in a relationship. So once you guys have split, you got to protect yourself. And if that's what it takes for you to move on, cut off all contact, then you did the right thing. But remember, nothing is set in stone. There is nothing definite in life. So if for some reason, you know that she still wants to have contact with you, and you for some reason want to have contact with her, don't not do it because you're like, well, I already cut this out. Like, life is very weird. There's no, you know, definites. There's negatives and positives, but there's always time to take a chance. Because you never know. You might reach out to her again or something in, you know, a month's time or 2 months' time or a year's time and wind up being really close friends and helping her out a lot. She may wind up helping you out a lot because you have a past, but that cooling down period is probably a good idea. BiosFreeTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below. But don't fight. www.biosfreetraining.com is the blog, and we're Relationship Advice Bicep, and we're out.